Welcome back to Two Who's Review. I'm Alex,
I'm Fitz.
and on the eve of a new season of Doctor Who, we are back to theorize and discuss what we think might happen based on all the news and trailers that we've been given thus far.
Mm.
I'm excited for this season to begin. I'm really keen for it.
Yeah, I know that that's like, oh, we're Doctor Who fans. New season, of course we're excited. That might sound a bit obvious, but there are some interesting things that we've even seen in the trailers that make me personally excited about it. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly how you feel about it, Cuff, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know. There's just something about it, man, that's intriguing.
Yeah, it's just a really exciting time. And I
Mm.
really like how I don't know if you were on the internet much during this period, like a month or two ago, but do you remember when like heaps of outlets were reporting on, oh, this is going to be this Shooty Gut was
Yeah.
leaving, Russell T Davis is leaving, the show's not
The
doing well,
show's ending, it's
it's
all
going to get
over,
axed by
everybody.
Disney, and then Disney came out and said, no, actually, every single week that we released a new episode, it was among the best things on the site, as in terms of
They
like viewing and stuff,
There's
like.
too many woke storylines, and even the people behind the scenes don't like it, and it's all gonna end. Yes, I did hear about that.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Like, I couldn't believe. Because I think. And granted, I don't know too much about. Oh, yeah, too much about sort of British media, but even The Sun was, like, making reports like that, and I'm like, the BBC and Disney haven't confirmed anything. What the fuck are you people talking about?
Yeah, it's
But.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
People heard like one rumor, and then because they wanted it to be true, they just started spreading it like wildfire. And that was it. There was
Yeah,
a completely unfounded.
it
Completely
came to
unfounded.
nothing. There's no evidence for it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as far as we know, it's still going strong. So, yeah.
But
Not
let's
to
get into
mention the
stuff that.
very nasty undercurrent that's sort of
Well, yeah.
underlying this whole thing. But anyway, yeah,
Let's
let's
get
get
into
into it.
what's actually happening.
Mm.
We have a new companion for this season.
Mm-hmm.
Belinda Chandra, played by
Mm-hmm.
Varada Sethu.
Mm.
Um, it's notable. She was in Boom. She played Mundy Flynn.
And they bring that up in the
They do
trailer,
bring
which
that
is
up
kind of
in the
cool.
trailer. I part of me is a little bit concerned that we're going to be retreading old ground that Clara Oswald laid. I'm a little bit nervous that this is going to be a mystery box surrounded by who is this person? Why do they keep appearing all over the place? Which is, to be fair, also a Susan Twist thing.
Yeah, but that was. I don't know, like they maybe the fact that it was built up to nothing meant it was a bit different. I know you and I had some issues with the way that ended, but I guess it was a little bit different. I don't think RTD will go the Clara route
No, I don't think
in
so.
this case. I think there's something different sort of on the horizons here, um, which actually kind of.
And part of me is
Mm,
wondering, like, what was the order of things here? Is it a
mm.
Jenna Coleman situation where from the beginning this was the idea, or is it more of a Freema Agyeman situation where she was like a background character in one episode and then they went, you
Mm.
know what? No, that's good. We'll bring you into it. Let's bring you into the show fully.
I could believe either, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
Um, it is a little bit hard to tell at this point, though. Um,
yeah,
but I do find it intriguing that they're addressing it because I think in other examples, certainly I think in Classic Who, when one actor has played multiple roles, and they've looked very similar, they don't really address it that much.
yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's kind of cool.
Hmm. We also know that Millie Gibson is appearing in some capacity. It doesn't look like
Hmm.
she's going to be part of the TARDIS team proper.
Mm.
Um, I have no idea what her involvement is going to be. Um, I don't know. I had initially thought it was going to be like, oh, the first couple of episodes of the season, it's just going to be Belinda and the Doctor, and then Ruby joins back on, and then it's all three of them. But I'm not convinced of that anymore.
Yeah, I think it's probably more of a guest star who is remaining on Earth, because that's basically where they left off, right? Like,
Yeah, I
Ruby
assume
understandably wants to be with her family.
Yeah, my understanding is, and especially because it seems like Ruby's first appearance is going to be in episode 4, which
right.
is probably the unit one.
Mm.
And we'll get to that. But it looks like
Yeah.
Ruby's going to be fulfilling the Martha Jones in series 4 role. Where,
yeah, that sounds about right.
That's main casting stuff. In terms of minor casting, we have Gemma Redgrave and Bonnie Langford back as Kate Stewart and Mel Bush. Great. I'm always happy to see Unit return. Kate is one of my favorite characters, and Mel was a treat last season, so having them back, it just makes a lot of sense. Anita Dobson also back as Mrs. Flood.
Yeah. Was it only that one shot in one of the trailers she was in? I didn't see her anywhere else.
Mrs. Flood, I think so, yeah. I think there was only like a small bit.
So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Because they've clearly set that up as to be some sort of pretty chilling mystery, really, because she had that weird clairvoyance sort of moment at the end, like in Empire of Death, and it was all really... Actually, I think it was in the penultimate episode, but either way, in that two-parter, and it was really weird and uncomfortable and fascinating, though, so yeah, hopefully that'll come to fruition in some way. Whether it will be this season, I don't know, and I don't think so, but yeah. We'll see how it goes.
There's a bunch of other one-off characters here that I don't know these names particularly well, so I don't think we have much to say about them. We've got Archie Panjabi, Rose Ailing Ellis, Ryan Clark, Freddie Fox, Kenneth Kirwan, Charlie Kondo. But the exciting one, the main one that I want to bring up is Alan Cumming returning to Doctor Who as the animated entity Mr. Ring-a-Ding.
And it looks great,
excited.
doesn't it?
This episode looks so fun. And we'll get to it, but obviously this is the main. Well, this and the Interstellar Song Contest are the two moments in the trailers that are so different that they really stand out in your mind. With Mr. Ring-a-Ding specifically, part of me really hopes that this episode is like a sequel episode to one of the better early Capaldi episodes, Flatline, where you have the two-dimensional creatures from another dimension, trying to assume 3 dimensions and take over our dimension. That was one where the TARDIS exterior shrank and the Doctor was stuck inside the entire time. That was the best episode of that season. And if this is a sequel to that, which would kind of make sense,
I believe it.
Way, yeah, I could see it happening. I could also see it being its own thing, but I don't know. I'm excited for that. And the character of Mr. Ring-a-Ding looks like a really good time.
Yeah. And Alan Cumming, he's a great actor, great character actor. And that one episode that he was in the Jodie Whittaker era, I think it's safe to say he was certainly one of the better elements in that episode.
Yes, and at the same time, this role feels way more like he's going to be able to sink his teeth into this role so much better.
Yeah. It'll feel more, not more real because it's a cartoon, but more authentic to his performance style, I think. I think it's going to be a really fun time. I was a little bit nervous, I guess, when I saw the animation for the Doctor and Belinda, simply because the quality didn't seem to be quite on the same level as Mr. Ring-a-Ding himself. I'm not too bothered by that. That could just be a stylistic thing. And even if it is a budget thing, Doctor Who's accommodated to that sort of thing before, so it's not really that much of an issue. But it's just something that stuck out in my mind.
Well, here's the thing. That episode is presumably it's the one that's set in 1950s. And, it doesn't look dissimilar to the quality of animation that a show like The Flintstones would have had, and that was a little bit after that time. So, I get it.
I guess so.
And also, if Mr. Ring-a-Ding is this extra like if he's like a toy maker level entity, he could
Hmm.
probably give himself a bit more clarity and pixels.
Yeah, I guess in that sense, like Mr. Ring-a-Ding is kind of like a classic Disney
Yeah.
animation or closer to it, whereas the Doctor and Belinda, they're like, one of those API animations like Gerald McBoing Boing or something.
Yeah, that's definitely reminiscent of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that actually makes sense. So
Mhm.
either way, just conceptually, that episode looks really interesting.
Yeah. We have some episode titles as well, which I want to go over real quick.
Yeah.
First episode is The Robot Revolution. I don't think we've seen much of that one yet, beyond just like Belinda getting abducted by aliens, which seems to be what's happening.
Yeah.
But like, it's difficult to tell from just the trailers which shots are like part of that. I think that could be like in the second trailer. There's some like robots that have the little. It almost like it looks like an like a few models later version of the emoji bots from that one Peter Capaldi episode. Like they've got like the symbols on their chest, which are like the faces.
Do you mean like the red ones that show up, or am I?
Yeah.
Something else. Yeah. I mean that presumably is the episode that comes from. So, yeah. But cool title. And it's actually funny that we recently got through reviewing that episode of Star Trek where we had that discussion about like actual artificial intelligence and what that would mean. So maybe they'll explore that as well.
Could do, yeah. The second episode is called Lux, which is the one that is the Mr. Ring-a-Ding one. It's set in the 50s, I think.
Oh, that's okay. That's the Ring-a-Ding one. Nice.
Yeah, the second episode is the Ring-a-Ding Power Hour. It seems early in the season to do that, but I mean, from everything that they've said, I think they're going to get to some dark stuff this season, so it makes sense to open with something a bit lighter.
Yeah, and it's kind of admirable in a way, because that's a fairly bold thing to have this crazy animated villain, and then to make the Doctor and Belinda animated, but to have that as like the second episode, that's pretty interesting. So good for them, really.
And both episodes written by Russell T Davies.
Mm-hmm. Is he writing the bulk of the episodes, by the way?
He's writing most of them. Yeah, there's more guest writers this season than there were last, but he's still writing about half or more of them. The third episode is called The Well, written by Russell T Davies and Sharma Angel Warfel.
Mm-hmm.
This could be the one that is like the 51st century one with like the Space Marines. That makes a lot of sense for that to be this one.
The 51st century one.
Yeah, like there's like it's described at some point they say they're going to the 51st or 52nd century or something like that. Yeah, the helmets with the like interior lights that shine up into inside those. I think that could very easily be the Well as some kind of like, again, like this aliens style, like, we're stranded on this asteroid colony. There's aliens attacking us. We got to protect the Well or whatever it ends up being.
It could be then like a colloquial name for some sort of anomaly in space, which sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
Now the 51st century thing, is that have we been to the 51st century before? Is that like when the Great and Bountiful Human Empire exists?
Oh no, that's way after.
Okay. Right.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. 51st century. Let's see. What do we got? We got Ice Warriors. The Doctor. It's when Jack is from Captain Jack.
That might be what I'm thinking of.
Time of Angels. Talons of Wen Chiang. Silence in the Library. Those are the one. Oh, also, Girl in the Fireplace. Also.
Oh, I think it's definitely cropped up before, but I think I'm thinking of Jack and the Girl in the Fireplace. I know I've heard that phrase, the 51st century, before.
Mm-hmm. Sweet.
That's interesting. We're going back there, I guess.
We sure are. Then we have episode 4. we have episode 4 called Lucky
Mhm.
Day, which is written by Pete McTeague, the man who brought us Kablam. This is the episode that, based on the clip that we see in the promo they put out when they revealed all the titles, and also
Mm.
like a couple of shots in the first trailer. I think
Mm.
this is going to be an episode about a secret alien prison that UNIT is running, and whether or not it's ethical or not,
That's interesting.
which I think could be really great.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
agree.
difficult to say that because, again, from the mind behind Kablam, but we have seen good writers put out bad stuff under a bad showrunner before. So this is a chance for Pete McTeague to redeem himself
Yeah.
in my eyes. Unless if the conclusion of this episode is it's good that UNIT has a secret illegal alien prison, then we're gonna have words. I doubt that.
Yeah, well, the greater good. Maybe that's
I
going to be.
highly doubt that Russell.
Yeah, no, I don't
would
think so.
that.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, Russell T Davies would not let that happen, especially given that did he write New Earth?
Yes.
Got a feeling. Yeah, okay, yeah. That I cannot imagine he would let that horrible premise for this new episode slide. In
Yeah.
that way. So yeah, if it is a like an episode where Unity is conducting experiments, I think we can expect some pretty good ethical, not just questions but answers. And even the premise actually seems interesting because it's a good way to sort of address some of the maybe not the worst problematic elements of the classic series, but like the unit are still the military, and you got to wonder where are the ethics there.
Well, I'm
So
looking at the again the 45-second promo that has all the episode titles, and it's like got one of those like corkboard things, like conspiracy corkboards, and
Yeah.
it's like there's the clear shot of Big Ben having been destroyed by the Slitheen here. I'm sure there are other references on here, especially if this is in the full episode. I see there's a newspaper clipping about possible inquiry into secret Nevada military thing, and that could just be Area 51, but a part of me is also like, is that meant to be Van Statten's underground alien museum from Dalek?
I mean, it could be. Is it?
Yeah,
Sorry, is this from one of the trailers that you're getting this from, or?
it's the like 30-second thing that I think was put out on social media instead of like a YouTube
Oh,
thing.
right.
It's
Yeah,
just like
like
the
the.
things that have like stylistically revealing all the episode titles.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I don't know. I'm just really fascinated about what that
Yeah,
story's
yeah,
going to be. I'm keen
for
to
sure.
see it.
One of these episodes seems to be set in 2007.
That one, I
That's
think,
interesting.
is episode 5 of the season, The Story and the Engine, which seems to be about missing people. Interestingly enough, if I've got my maths right, that review of ours is going to be the 100th episode of this podcast.
Nice.
Our 100th review. Well, not really, but 100th episode, certainly.
I hope it's a great episode then.
I really hope it is. It better be something worth the title of 100th.
I either want it to be really good or really bad.
Yeah, I hope it's not really bad. Personally,
No, I hope so. I hope so.
Written
Too,
by
really,
Inua
but...
Ellams, who what has she done before? She has. This is her first televisual piece of writing. She's written for theatre and poetry before.
Cool.
Which is interesting. Barbershop Chronicles, Half God of Rainfall, An Evening with an Immigrant.
Yeah, writing for theatre cuff. I mean,
yeah, who would do that?
Can you imagine doing that?
Ridiculous. Yeah, but that one I think is going to be kind of understated. It's going to be. I think that one's going to be a bit more mature.
Maybe. I like the title. That's just an interesting it just seems like it's kind of a strange title, and it's not the sort of generic thing you would expect with Doctor Who. It's not like Invasion of the or
Yeah, yeah.
Revenge of the. It's it's strange, and I'm intrigued.
Yeah, me
and yeah,
too.
I don't think it's going to be bad either, and I am actually genuinely excited for it to be interesting.
And it seems like it's going to be, like I said, a darker, more mature episode, which is interesting that it's followed up by the Interstellar Song Contest, which is this episode's oddball. This season's rather oddball episode. This
Yeah,
one's going to be fun. This one's going to be fun.
Can we just address that for a second? Because I think I may have said to you when we were discussing our two Who's produced season 3 ideas
Yes.
before we actually did it. Something about me wanting to, because you wanted to bring the Master back for this season, but I said something about, oh, well, there's this weird story, there's like a book where the Doctor and the Master were in like a pop band, and I thought, oh, what if they came back and had to be in like a song contest or something? And I thought to myself, oh no, Nick, that's so ridiculous, that's so silly, there's no way that would ever work. And yet, here we are.
Here we are. The episode is written by Juno Dawson, who is the first openly transgender writer for Doctor Who.
Awesome.
She has written for the show, not the show, but for the world in the past. Though she wrote some audio plays for the Big Finish Torchwood range, and she
nice.
also wrote The Good Doctor, which is one of the first 13th Doctor novels.
Right.
Yeah. So
I think
she's certainly got that familiarity with the world, and I think you would have to in order to like jump out the gate with something this wacky, and bold, especially.
And I say that the idea sounds kind of silly, and it is a bit, like, just the concept. But then again, there's a lot in Doctor Who that's very silly, and curiously enough, even in the silly moments, it still winds up being great. So,
well, you also got to remember, like, this is a universe where Britain, like, leads the way into space exploration. If Britain is the culture that puts its mark out on the rest of the universe, an Interstellar Song Contest is absolutely what would happen.
Yeah.
It's absolutely what would happen. So, like, I'm not even, like, I'm just really excited to see, like, what they do with this premise. I hope this isn't a case of a premise, like, being all that an episode has to offer. I hope that they actually, like, do a lot with this concept.
Yeah, I do too.
And then we have our 2-part finale. Part 1 is called Wish World, and Part 2 is called The Reality War, which is a banger title.
Yeah. Because we've seen a reality bomb, but I don't know if we've seen a literal war between realities. So,
well, that makes me think: is this going to be some kind of like alternate dimensions attacking? Not in the sense of like alternate timelines, but like if Mr. Ring-a-Ding is from that 2-dimensional world. Is his presence in Lux like a herald of you're gonna have people coming in, like the walls of reality are weakening again. The breach at the heart of the Medusa Cascade is gonna open up, and you're gonna have like the void's gonna come through. Like I wonder.
Well, they even
premise of this season.
They even sort of implied that in the last season, didn't they? Because you've got like the Pantheon coming in. It's as if the walls of reality are starting to break down. Ever since the Doctor provoked the superstition at the edge of the universe, so it wouldn't surprise me if they were going to go that route. We
also, though, I just realized we still have a mystery box from not like last season, but we still don't know who Beep the Meep's boss is.
I don't think that's going to get solved this season. If it does, I'll be surprised. But it's still intriguing.
But thinking about alternate realities, that could be. And I just said I don't think it's going to be alternate timelines, but that could be an explanation for the Mrs. Flood mystery box. Because people have pointed out, oh, there have been occasions where she's worn outfits that other characters have previously worn. Like like when she's introduced, she's wearing something that is incredibly reminiscent of what Clara Oswald wore when she died by Raven. And that, if it's alternate dimensions, that could go a way to explain that. Because every time I've seen a theory like, oh, she's Clara, she's a grown up Susan, she's River Song, it always like, or she's a grown up, she's like Ruby who's grown up. Every single theory I've heard on that has completely like been antithetical to who the characters were and are that we know. Like, there's no way that Ruby would ever be racist to that one guy. There's no way that Clara would do that either. But if it's alternate reality, if racist Clara is our big bad, that could be the answer.
Maybe. Yeah, because I think that she was even wearing an outfit. Oh, I might be getting the episodes mixed up, but was she wearing an outfit in Empire of Death that was similar to her outfit Clara wore, or was that from the first episode?
No, that was from her first appearance in the church on Ruby Road. But there was an outfit that she wore in that episode that was reminiscent of something. It wasn't a Clara thing, but it was a different outfit. I'm positive they're going to be... Interestingly, the TARDIS fandom page on Mrs. Flood is called Flood. It's not called Mrs. Flood. It's just called Flood.
Yeah, that sounds ominous.
What does she know? Because this is this is the thing where it's like, it's going to be... Is this going to be the Mrs. Flood season, or are they going to save that for Series 16? Is this going to be where they solve the Mrs. Flood mystery, or is it going to be something else?
I think it's going to be something else. I don't think they're going to be solving the Mrs. Flood mystery this early. Like, it was so... It's so weird, and so... Because as a character, she seems like really friendly, but she's also really kind of ominous, and I just think it feels like a mystery that that RTD is going to milk for all it's worth, basically. So I don't think it's going to get solved this season. She's going to show up, as we've seen, and maybe there'll be hints at who she really is, but I definitely don't think it's going to get solved this season.
I think that it might, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It's interesting that our last time we had similar, when we did our previous predictions video, I thought Mrs. Flood wouldn't come back, and you did. And now we've flipped on that.
Yeah, a little bit. How funny.
So Wish World and the Reality War. When I hear Wish World, my first thought is like, and it's almost certainly not this, but my first thought is the plot of Wonder Woman 1984, which I didn't see and is apparently bad. But the concept is like, oh, this villain is giving every single person in the world a wish to grant, and then chaos just happens as a result. Wish World kind of seems to fit that mission statement, but in terms of like Doctor Who, I don't think it's going to be that.
There's that bit where Belinda's like, "Oh, have you ever heard of the planet Earth?" And the person says no, and I wonder, did someone just wish the planet Earth into non-existence? Is that what we're dealing with?
Well, that's actually a good point, because like the mission statement of the season, it seems to be, is like, at the start of the season, Belinda gets abducted by aliens, and then the Doctor happens across it, and he says, I'm going to get you home. And then either because they decide they want to have some fun before that, or because the TARDIS is going all wrong, it takes a while to get her there.
Yeah.
If Earth... And well, I mean, if episode 4 is the unit episode, they get back eventually, I guess.
Yeah.
But if at a certain point Earth disappears along with all that, or like just blinks out of time, I mean, that's certainly a way to not take Belinda home.
Yeah. there may be contradictions as to how, if the Earth is gone, how she got onto the TARDIS in the first place, although I guess it could disappear after her lifetime. Anyway, it's too complicated, I think, to unpack at the moment. We'll have to wait and see how it goes.
Yeah.
But it should be interesting nonetheless. I also want to just touch on Belinda as a character for a minute. Because she seems, and granted, we've only really had a trailer to get to know about her, but she seems interestingly different to other companions. She hasn't got that. It's not that she doesn't have that kind of, wanderlust that some of the other companions have, but she seems to have a steadier head on her shoulders. Like, she's not. Her main goal is to get home, and maybe she sort of realizes that the Doctor and his life is quite dangerous. That's the vibe I'm getting anyway, and I think that's actually quite interesting. And a nice change of pace. So yeah, I don't know. I just find that intriguing. We'll have to see how that goes.
Do we think the season ends with another Ruby situation where she leaves, or will Belinda stick around a bit longer?
The problem with her just leaving, just saying, oh, Doctor, this is too much for me, is like we already had that character arc in the previous season, and I'm sure
that wasn't really Ruby's arc, though. Ruby's arc was, I would love to keep doing this, but I've only just rediscovered my family.
Yeah, I guess so. So you mean like a full-blown, I'm feeling quite, I guess, existentially exhausted,
well,
Doctor.
I don't know what the reason could be for it, but, for one reason or another, will Belinda be a one-off companion for this season, or will she stick around, is my main question.
She might, maybe because of the Mundy Flynn sort of mystery, maybe there's a bigger thing that it's building to. Whether that mystery is going to get solved in the season, which it might, I'm not sure. I think... I just think that there could be a couple different ways the writers could go about it. I think if Belinda starts off as being kind of hesitant to go on adventures with the Doctor and being not paranoid or anything, but a fairly cautious person, and maybe in the end she realizes, there's more to this universe to explore, maybe she'll continue to go with him. But if the ending is dark enough, maybe she will decide to stick around. On Earth, I mean. So
yeah.
It's hard to tell at this point.
Here's another interesting thing. For the second time in a row, there are no recognizable returning villains in the social media and trailers for the new season.
I want to address that briefly, but
reveal, but
go ahead.
Yeah, well, last time there was a surprise reveal of Sutekh in the finale, but there were no there were no recognizable villains put in the trailer to be like, come back, audience, we've got Daleks again, and the same seems to be true this time. Do you think that they're going to do it again, and the finale is going to reveal a surprise returning villain, or are we going to have another season of newbies?
I'm going to challenge that, but I'm going to wait till I make my predictions, because it's part of my predictions.
Okay.
But certainly they're not, if there are returning villains, they're not using it as a selling point, as previous seasons would have, which is an interesting strategy.
Well, I like that they didn't take the Chibnall approach, where the first season was met with some backlash, and then they pivot and just do a complete 180 for the second season. Like the first season of Chibnall Who, there was 0 returning villains, and then season 2, the Master's here, the Sontarans are here, the Cybermen are here. We've got Daleks in every Christmas special. Captain Jack is back. Jadoon are here. It's but they gave us everything. Time Lords, Gallifrey. Yeah. I'm glad that RTD is sticking to his mission statement that he set out in the first season. That being said, I know that one of Ncuti Gatwa's main complaints about filming the first season was that he really wanted to face the Daleks, and I hope he gets to at some point.
Sure.
Who knows when that is? Who can say?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Is there much? Do you have any other sticking points from the footage that we've got so far that you want to
not
bring
terribly. And anything that I could bring up again, it just sort of fits into some of my predictions here. So I don't really think so.
Well, actually, I'm looking at the again. I'm looking at the episode title reveal footage, and the one for Wish World. It's like this. It's like it looks like a clock on an alien planet, basically. And there's like a glowing orb at the top, and there's like bones and stuff. Like it's.
Cuff, can you do me a favor? Can you just message me a link to that?
I'm gonna send you a link. Because
that all sounds really interesting.
It doesn't look especially Earth-based, which is confusing me a lot about what this finale could hold. Is Wishworld a planet that they go to where everyone just has like some kind of like precognition or reality-altering like abilities that let them manifest stuff at will, and that's what the Wishworld is?
I would, before we continue, I actually would like to go through some of these titles and just point out stuff. Yeah, I mean, Wishworld, I mean, it sounds like one of these sort of touristy, like alternate reality sort of things. Yeah, but it could be ironic, it could be, I mean, I don't know if they want to rehash any old territory, but it could be like a fine time situation where everything's happy-go-lucky, but there's the evil underground goblins who steal people in the night, or something like that,
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm just looking at these titles. So Robot Revolution, it's got almost like a Frankenstein vibe, because we've got like a sort of the kidney-shaped medical tray, we've got some bottles of some liquids, we've got even like a steaming thing, Lux, so that, I mean, that's the place where...
thing.
Yeah, so that looks pretty... And that actually makes sense, because, like, I heard, I think it was Mark Cousins who said that cinema is, like, made of light. Like, that's the element of cinema. Like, he's being poetic, but especially back in the days of celluloid, that's essentially what it was. It's captured light, ran through a projector. So that actually makes sense. So that'll be interesting. The Well, yeah, that looks like one of the, like a remote space thing, like I think you said that when they're traveling down the elevator and they're in the 51st century, that's probably what that is. Right.
Yeah.
With Lucky Day, we've got some blurred picture of, I assume that's the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Yeah. Global warming, that's on the...
That's on the aliens.
That sounds vaguely racist.
And also something that would absolutely happen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've got Big Ben.
The conspiracy theory, not the science behind it.
Yeah. Who's this dude? Sort of bottom right. He's
bottom
in
right? I can't tell.
Like blonde hair, he's in a blue circle, God knows what that... And there's a creepy monster or something. Oh, yeah, here's the story in the engine. Yeah, missing people. Interesting.
That's 2007,
Creepy spider.
Certainly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Interstellar Song Contest.
That one's pretty...
803rd Interstellar Song Contest.
Yeah. Here's
Wishworld. Yeah, that seems like a... Yeah, the clock thing. I mean, maybe it's a... This might be a bit of a stretch. Maybe it's a Time Lord thing. I'm not sure. I'm reminded of the opening to Capaldi's era with the clocks.
I don't think it's a Time Lord thing. I mean, if it is, they're doing a good job hiding it, especially because that figure on the left definitely does not look Gallifreyan.
Yeah, no. I actually do also want to point out the architecture here. It looks like the building's sort of made of bones, which is really cool.
Yeah, I noticed that, yeah.
Yeah. Because when you said clock, the only thing that I thought of was the fact that one of the Master's disguises for his TARDIS was a grandfather clock.
Oh, of course.
Highly doubt that's what this is, but
Yeah, I doubt.
yeah.
But we
But
do have to remember that the Master was teased in the giggle. Someone took the golden tooth.
yeah,
Could this be a Master thing?
who knows? That figure on the left is very interesting, though. The design's very curious.
Yeah, that's the thing that makes me think that Wishworld is an alien planet and not something happening to Earth.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think it's an Earth-centric thing. I think this is, even if it's just like a phenomena, it's out in somewhere in space. But it's interesting. Like, it's called Wishworld, but we've got this thing with the clock, and it's going forward rapidly. But I wonder, could it be like maybe this sounds obvious, but like, could it be directly connected to time travel? Could the wishes that you're wishing for, are they to go to different places and times, even if that seems a little bit redundant?
I mean, if it's different timelines, that would cause a reality war.
That's true.
So it could be.
And we've also got with the reality war on the sign, it says Borough of Hackney. Wherever that may be.
And the whole thing starts to crumble. In a bunch of it looks very similar to that one part in the trailer where Mel Bush is standing on the street and the sky falls around her. That's probably from either the finale or from the cliffhanger leading into the finale.
Yeah, it's got to be from one of them for sure. I think that may be it. Is there anything else you want to address before we get to our predictions?
Our famous predictions. No, I don't have anything in particular that stood out to me, even on a rewatch. At the very least, nothing that is so present at the forefront of my mind that it's worth talking about.
Sure.
Is there anything that you noticed?
No. Or if I did notice anything, again, it's just in my predictions. Sure. Which we'll obviously get to. I don't think there's really much else.
Cool. Let's get to our predictions then.
Yeah.
For those of you who might be unaware, Fitz and I have a kind of pretty regular tradition that we do. I think it started with the 50th anniversary specials.
Oh no, didn't it start with
the started with Power of the Doctor? I think it did start with Centenary special, yeah. But each of us will make 5 predictions about what we think is or isn't going to happen in the next 8 episodes of the show, and the other person will each assign that prediction a point ranking based on how likely or unlikely we think that is. For reference, stuff that seems to be kind of a given, usually around 100 points. We have gotten into the millions in the past. We have put intentionally sometimes true off-the-wall nightmare predictions on the off chance that we get a huge amount of points for it. The points then have never really meant anything. No one wins something from the other person as a result. I forget who is winning in terms of I think I'm up 2-1, but I could be wrong about that. You definitely won last season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think 2-1 sounds about right.
I think it's 2-1 to me at the moment, but I'd have to go back and figure that out. I only have 4 at the moment. I haven't got the 5th one yet. If you've got all 5, you can start.
Yeah, I've got 5 of them.
Okay, we'll go one at a time. So what's your first prediction?
The Daleks will return. Regardless of whether the rumors of Ncuti Gatwa's exit are true, they're not. It's a rite of passage for every Doctor to go through, and now that this Doctor has been established, it makes some sense for him to confront such an iconic villain. Also, and this goes back to something I mentioned earlier, and I've got it up here on the screen, at the 1 minute and 34 second mark, there's a shot of these, they look like sort of flying saucer ships, sort of attacking a futuristic cityscape. Now, I
Yeah.
know it's a little bit tenuous, but it makes me think, because I don't know if there are any other Doctor Who monsters that have flying saucer-shaped spaceships other than the Daleks, so that's my thought behind it. I know it's not,
Cool.
it's a bit tenuous, as I said, but
It is.
well,
look, there are a couple of people who we see die and they do get like skeletonized. It's very clearly a different thing than the Daleks skeletonizing people. With that, it's like you just see the skeleton as they get hit by plasma. But with this, it kind of looks like all of their skin is like disintegrating around the skeleton as they superheat up so fast.
Yeah.
Which isn't really a Dalek thing, so that's definitely not an indication. But in terms of whether or not the Daleks are involved regardless, I'm going to put that at about a 5,000 points.
So, thanks. Yeah, pretty low score there.
Yeah, because
By comparison, no.
Here's the thing. I'm not certain that they will appear. I think it's more likely that they won't. But they are the Daleks, and if there's one thing Russell loves to do, it's to surprise us with Daleks.
And it'd be really unheard of for any Doctor. I mean, I don't know how many more seasons Ncuti and RTD have got planned, but it would be astonishing if Ncuti never met the Daleks. Like that would make no sense. As to whether RTD wants to bring them back this sort of early, I just think in one way that does make sense because they're such an iconic villain and they've come back in I think in similar places in other Doctors runs, but I think one of RTD's big mission statements with this new era is to do a lot of, if not complete breaks with the past, then certainly reinventions and doing new things. The fact that we had Sutekh coming in at the end was kind of an anomaly. So, I think 5,000 is pretty fair, actually.
Sure. Here's my first prediction.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Mrs. Flood is going to be the big bad of this season. That's my prediction. I think that's a pretty safe bet. We've seen her in this season's footage. I think it would be weird to have her play a similar role this season as she did last season, where it's just more like teasing that she's working on something. I think if she's not the big bad of this season, we will see her doing nefarious stuff for the next season. But I don't think she's going to play the same role that she did last year. I think that more likely than not, Mrs. Flood is who the season is going to be building towards.
So to be clear, like that's your prediction specifically, that she is the big threat?
Yes, I think that she is who the Doctor will have to defeat in the finale.
Okay. Interesting. I'm gonna give that 3,500 points.
Ooh.
Because it's I really do think it's more likely than a Dalek return. There's really not much evidence for that. Maybe I'm just being a bit wishful there. But I do think with Mrs. Flood, I do think RTD is playing the long haul with this character. And that if this puzzle box gets opened, it's not going to happen quite that quickly. She may have a greater role, and she may, maybe even impact the characters on a more personal level than last time. But I don't think she's going to be the big bad. I think it'll be something else, maybe related to the Pantheon specifically. So, yeah, I'm going to give that 3,500 points.
Okay. What's your second prediction?
We will get a more detailed look at the Doctor's dark side in this season. There have been hints of it here and there in the writing and Ncuti's performance, such as in Rogue and Joy to the World, but there will be a deeper exploration of it in this season. Specifically, I think the show will set up a sort of Wrath of the Time Lord ending for one of the villains of the season, a la Family of Blood, only to have the Doctor be forced to reconsider his choices and wrestle with his anger. This would track with the idea that the 15th Doctor is more therapized than other Doctors have been in the past.
So, is your specific prediction that we will have a moment where the Doctor starts to go to his darkest place and then has to be talked out of it, or just
Yeah.
that?
No,
Because
it's a
broadly
second.
speaking,
It's the second one because like
okay,
Doctor
so you're
going
being
to the dark.
specific about that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I actually should clarify. A lot of these predictions they're a bit rambly, as I'm kind of want to do, but I'll
Yeah.
specify which parts are the predictions. So yes, no, it's the second one because the
So you think
Doctor
you're gonna
being
see, okay.
yeah, the Doctor going dark, like that's. I don't know if I say would say that's guaranteed, but it is still pretty likely. We've already seen it with Trudy Gutler's performance.
Yeah.
I think it's quite likely to happen again.
I
But
agree.
specifically the changing of his mind, being forced to be confronted, because that seems to be different enough that RTD knows that like he can't retread old ground too much. So I think, and it would be an interesting choice, and it would make sense, I think, for Trudy Gutler's Doctor, perhaps even more than other Doctors.
I'll give you 500 for that.
Cool.
My
All right, let's.
prediction: I think that Mundy Flynn is just going to be Belinda's descendant. I don't think it's going to go much deeper than that. I think it's just going to be, there's a family connection here.
Very interesting.
Because I don't know how in depth the show's going to want to go on this idea of a mystery, especially considering that if they do, it will be the third time they've done it. Like, I guess, like I said, first with Clara, then with Susan Twist. If they try it again with Belinda, I think Russell is going to be. I think he's going to know better than to go to that well again. So I think it's just going to be, hey, cool. I happened across your like great granddaughter, and that's interesting, I guess.
Sure. It is interesting because they seem to make it a fairly significant thing in the trailer.
Well, it shows up a bit in the first trailer, and then it doesn't show up at all in the second, which is why I think it's not going to be a huge focus.
Okay. Maybe. I think the fact that it shows up at all, that indicates something to me about it, but then again, it could just be part of the pattern of the Doctor noticing, hey, I'm seeing familiar faces crop up as just something to make it more believable, right?
Yeah, sure.
So that could be part of it too. I think I could kind of go either way, and you'll see why when I get to my next prediction. But I actually think that's a fairly safe bet, especially given that, as you say, we've done it. This would be the third time in doing something like this, and unless RTD is trying to like deliberately build a pattern to head to something really big, it's not too likely. It could just be, I've seen your face before. There it is. So I'm going to give that. I'll give that 750.
Awesome.
Cool.
Number 3, what do you got?
Yeah, that neatly brings me on to my third prediction, which is
great.
Seeming more unrealistic the more we talk about this. Belinda is secretly a time traveler who has had her memories removed. This explains why she appears in 2 different time periods, first being Mundy Flynn in Boom. Now, the second sentence, it's a bit of a cheat because it's a whole other thing, so I'm happy to just have the first sentence be my prediction. But the second sentence I have here is, she may even be a Time Lord herself, which I'm now starting to realize is a little bit ludicrous at this point.
Does the show pull an inverse of the Sutekh reveal from last season, where instead of revealing a forgotten antagonist from the past, they reveal a forgotten protagonist from the past. Is Belinda secretly Romana?
Yeah, that'd be
I think,
interesting.
look, if you want to throw Time Lord into the mix, you're going to get way more points for it. If you just want to say she's an amnesiac time traveler, like, it's up to you. How many points do you want for this, essentially? If we're just gonna go down the amnesiac time traveler route, I'll offer up 1,000 points. If you want to throw Time Lord into the mix, I'll bump that up to 100,000. How many points do you want to stake on this?
I'll go with the crazier option with the Time Lord because I realize that my other predictions they're actually not that crazy, and I do want to have at least one prediction that's as typically ridiculous as some of the other ones I've made, just for the fuck of it.
As is tradition for you.
Yeah.
Okay, 100,000.
So yeah, Time Lord.
And to be clear, if Belinda is an amnesiac time traveler but not a Time Lord, you get nothing. This is you're all in on Time Lord for this.
Yep, I'm all in, and if I'm right about the first part, I'll just cope and see. Then everyone can enjoy that in the audience.
Great.
I'm sure they will. Your next prediction.
Yes. This one's a bit wackier.
Mm-hmm.
But my third prediction is that Ruby Sunday dies. My only evidence for that is it doesn't seem like Millie Gibson is going to be in the show moving forward, even in a recurring capacity, just based on like some anecdotal like interview stuff that has cropped up. And again, that may even be lingering remnants of the hatred-filled everyone involved in this show is getting fired and replaced or not, like drivel from a few months ago. But I think that a really neat way to be able to continue to visit Unit if Ruby's involved in that, or even just modern day London without encountering Ruby as much as we might, is to kill her. And that might be a way to unleash this darker side of the Doctor that you think might appear.
Yeah, look, I don't think it's too unlikely. I mean, we already sort of saw Ruby die in 73 yards. I mean, obviously that all got reversed, but still, with that, we had some emotional impact there. I'm just wondering, assuming that it happened, I'm just wondering how it'll happen, whether it'll be her aging or her making a sacrifice play, or, I guess if that does happen, there could be a number of ways it occurs. What was the prediction I gave the 3,500 to? It was your first one, wasn't it?
Yeah, Mrs. Flood being the big bad.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give Ruby dying. I'll give 4,000.
So you think it's more likely that Ruby will die than the Daleks will return?
Yes.
Okay.
You know what? Fuck
just
it.
Making sure. Just making sure we're all clear on the exchange rate of these points.
Yes. I'll make that claim. Why not?
Cool. Okay. Prediction number 4. What do you got for me?
Yeah. The cartoon villain played by Alan Cumming, being Mr. Ringading, is a servant/associate of the Pantheon, which I think is fairly likely, but specifically, I think he is a servant of the Trickster.
Interesting. Now, again, I'm going to ask you, in the interest of being clear with these points, how specific do you want to make the actual prediction? Do you want to lock in on Trickster specifically, or just the Pantheon?
That's a toughie, because I've already kind of fucked myself with that 100,000 points, whatever.
If I were you, I'd go with the safe route, because I think that's almost a certainty. And this is just a way of getting guaranteed points on the board.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay, I'll go the safe route. Like, because him being a servant of the Pantheon, I mean, it's not guaranteed, but I think it's
not.
fairly likely.
Yep, 250.
Sure.
My fourth prediction,
Mhm.
and it's kind of a double up because it's kind of assuming that one of my other predictions is also true. But I'm just sort of splitting them up into two. Here's my prediction: if Mundy is Belinda's descendant, I think that in the second last episode of the season in Wishworld, Belinda dies, and that will cause a paradox because a time traveler has already met one of her descendants. And this paradox will be the thing that weakens the walls of reality to the point that the reality war can begin.
That's actually, I think that's a pretty good prediction. It would make sense. And certainly,
obviously they find some way in the finale to undo the paradox.
It. Yeah, but that still kind of makes sense. Certainly, if you take what's in both trailers, it sort of looks like it makes your prediction a bit more credible. Okay. I think I'm going to give that. I think I will give that a. I think I might give that a 3,000 actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
One to go. Let's bring it home, Bits. What's your final prediction?
Boy.
I've got mine now. I've got my fifth one, and it's kind of insane. So I'm happy to end on it.
I'm so excited. Anyway, so this is mine. We're going to get an almost bottle episode that takes place exclusively in the TARDIS, or almost exclusively. There are two shots in the trailer where the Doctor is wearing the same outfit. The first time Belinda says, "Can't you get this box of yours fixed?" The second time is when the Doctor says, "Everything's out of sync." For these reasons, I think there will be an entire episode devoted to fixing the TARDIS, while the characters confront themselves and each other in the large but still confined space of the TARDIS. To be clear, the characters must spend the majority of the running time of an episode in the TARDIS for this prediction to work.
I don't know where that fits in the titles that we've been given, in the clips we've gotten from the reveals of the titles. I'm not certain where that would land.
Sure. To be fair, I didn't either forgot or didn't know about most of the titles before I made that prediction, so that could be a part of it. But it's the one I'm going to stick with anyway.
I'm still going to give you 25,000 for it.
Cool.
Purely because I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah. All right. What's your? Yeah.
Here we go. This is kind of insane, but I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility.
Alrighty.
Our favorite Alan Cumming, Mr. Ring-a-Ding, won't be the only animated character appearing in Lux. And in fact, throughout that episode, as the Doctor and Belinda perhaps explore their animated world, we will feature cameo appearances of actual Disney characters. Not like original creations that are meant to clearly mimic actual Disney characters.
Like literal Disney characters.
I'm talking Mickey fucking Mouse interacting with the Doctor in this animated world. Because, hey, it's not impossible. Look what streaming service the show is on.
Yeah.
They might have been able to work out some weird, fun rights thing that could grant the BBC access to use this. And hey, wouldn't that make parts of the internet go absolutely fucking ballistic for a day or two?
It really would.
Won't that be so much fun? That's my fifth prediction. Disney characters in episode 2 of this season. Give me my points.
I've got
I'm
a couple
gonna
of
drown in these things. I'm gonna drown in the points.
I've got a couple of interesting thoughts and feelings on this prediction because
Yeah.
there's a part of me that doesn't want it to happen because I think I've said from the beginning, it's great that Doctor Who is kind of getting out to a wider audience. They've got a bigger budget from Disney. I don't want Disney interfering in my Doctor Who that much.
To be clear, I'm not saying, hey, Mickey Mouse is going to be this episode's one-off side character who helps the Doctor out. I'm thinking like for 5 seconds, the Doctor and Belinda are walking through this animated world, and oh look, I know those guys. And then Mickey Mouse waves at the camera and says, "Oh," and Goofy is there and he says, "Gorge." And then Donald Duck is there and you can't understand him. And that's the limits of it.
Could the Doctor understand him with his translation thing from the TARDIS?
Donald Duck says something incomprehensible, and the Doctor says, "Yeah, you'll get there, Donald." And Belinda says, "What?" And the Doctor says, "I speak duck. Anyway, let's move on."
Well, the Doctor speaks horse, apparently, so...
And baby.
That's true. Anyway. There is a part of me, though, that kind of does want this to be true, because if it does happen, I'm just gonna shit myself.
Yeah.
Like, my head will fucking explode.
To be clear, this is my intentionally insane odd.
Yeah, I get it, but still, there's a part of me that wants this to be...
It would kind of break the internet for a bit.
It would be, kind of insane. You gave my Trickster one 100,000 points, you said, yeah?
Yes, that was the Trickster's one.
Okay, I'm gonna give this one 500,000.
Hey! I did it! I think more often than not, you've had the most insane point ones. I think this is the first time I've had the highest score one.
Mm.
I don't remember, though. Like I said, tough to say for sure.
Welcome to the wildcard gang.
Hee. And that does it for our predictions video.
That's like the shortest one we've ever done.
Yeah, I mean...
Holy shit. We've had ones that lasted for like 2.5 hours. It's hilarious.
We have, I think a huge part... I think it's just because it's difficult to tell from the footage what clips belong where.
Also, 50th anniversary, RTD 50th coming anniversary,
back. Return of RTD, new Doctor,
Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah, like we've had bigger things to talk about in the past, and I mean honestly, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I think the tone of this discussion, because there's nothing huge to talk about. I think we're both coming into this with the view of, hey, Doctor Who's back, cool, and
yeah,
that's kind of a good place to be.
Yeah, I agree,
and I'm all for it. And next time on the podcast, we will be reviewing The Robot Revolution. I have no idea when that will be, what day of the week this ends up getting uploaded after the episode. We'll do our best to get it out as soon as we can. There is a decent chance I won't be able to watch the episode for a few days, so we'll see. But rest assured, you'll be hearing our thoughts on it at our earliest convenience. But until that happens, I'm Alex.
I'm Fitz.
And as the poster of the series says, we're in for one hell of a journey home.
Yeah.
Goodbye.